Welcome back to the Sonic Boomers. I'm Pete Torriello.
And I'm Maureen Torriello.
And we want to welcome you to season number 6 of the Sonic Boomers. Some of the most listened to and watched versions of the Sonic Boomers are the ones where Maureen and I talk about interior design and interior decoration. And the funny part is
that we're not experts. We have no design background. We haven't taken any courses in design or anything like that. But
we're a couple of loudmouth old people.
Very opinionated. Although I will say, at least for me, I do watch a lot of TV shows dealing with design and a lot of podcasts also that deal with design. So I feel like I'm not totally going from the seat of my pants. I've got a little bit of background knowledge, and I have some art background.
I would say that we are design enthusiasts.
That's a good way of putting it.
And as such, we still have opinions, because I don't know anybody really who is an enthusiast about any topic that doesn't have an opinion regarding that topic.
So we make no apologies.
Yeah. And on this edition, we want to talk about 2 design trends, one of which has been around for a long time.
Longer than I would have thought.
And it's absolutely ubiquitous today.
Wow.
You see? The other one is something that disappeared decades ago. I think it only had a shelf life of maybe 10 years, and it is slowly starting to gain a little bit of traction again in the design community.
So be sure you listen to the whole podcast to get the full story.
And so the thing that we want to talk about that's coming back is the sunken living room. Now, you may be saying, what is a sunken living room?
And it's kind of hard to describe without a picture. So I apologize for those of you that are listening only to the audio version, because it's a little bit hard you have to create a mental picture. But perhaps you would remember seeing things like in Mad Men, if you've watched that show, maybe Mary Tyler Moore, where you came in on one level and you had to go down a few steps to be in the actual living room.
I think Mary had that in her apartment.
Yeah.
And also, when she and Dick Van Dyke did the Dick Van Dyke Show, I think they had a sunken living room too, the Petries.
Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking of when I said that, when they would come in the door and then they would go down like 3 steps and they would be in their living room.
It's like a recessed area of a larger room where you have a pit. And that pit could be anywhere from a few inches to a few feet, in which you may or may not have a connection by steps.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for the purpose of creating an area of conversation and intimacy where people would sit around in a circle inside this pit or in a square. But there was a pit recessed into the floor, and it would encourage people sitting closer together and interfacing across from one another for conversation.
Right. And it made for a very good experience for when you were entertaining guests, or even when the family just got together and you wanted to watch TV, or you wanted to chit-chat, play board games or whatever. It gathered people in a way that you don't see in some of the more modern takes on living rooms.
Plus, I think it looks cool as hell. How could hell be cool? I don't know. There's an oxymoron said by a moron, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it is a really cool looking effect, and it's hardly new.
No, it went back to like the 50s and 60s was when it was probably the most popular.
Yeah, first one was by a designer named Bruce Goff. And he did it in 1927.
That took me by surprise, because I really did not expect that
No,
at all.
I didn't expect that. I figured something in the late 40s at the earliest, definitely by the mid-50s and into the 60s.
Yeah.
But if you told me 1927, I would have been incredulous.
Oh, Pete's took out the dictionary for this show.
Now, the concept got a really big push in the 1950s from architect Eero Saarinen.
One of your favorites.
One of my favorites, who gave you the tulip table and the tulip chair and the St. Louis Arch.
Oh, okay.
which he unfortunately did not live long enough to see completed. The popularity of the sunken living room, or the conversation pit, really rose up through the 1950s and 60s and made its way a little bit into the 70s, and then it just disappeared off the face of the earth like the dodo bird.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that it looks cool as hell. And once you're sitting in it, it can be very conversational and very functional. However, getting in and out of it, I think, creates a big problem, certainly for us seniors.
Yes.
But I think also for younger families with little kids, you don't want them tripping and falling into it, hurting themselves, jumping on and off the furniture because now they've got a higher plane to jump from. I think there's a lot of downsides to it, which may have contributed to its wane in popularity.
And of course, we of a certain age, as cool as I would think it is to have a conversation pit in the house, the people who come to our home these days are roughly our age, maybe a little bit older. We would have to have an ambulance parked outside the house all the time.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Now, when you add a conversation pit to an existing home, let's say you wanted to do it today.
Yeah.
It's really expensive.
You mean to actually physically build one?
If we wanted to do it here.
Oh, yeah.
Don't panic.
Good. I'm not.
Because we know this is not for us. But if you were to try and do it here, it would be such major construction because you have to drop the floor.
You either have to drop the floor or you have to create a raised platform.
Right. And with the 8-foot ceilings that we have
Yeah,
in these
it wouldn't
homes,
work.
if you raised it, the ceiling would be too low.
Yeah.
And if you drop the floor, well, there's another room beneath
Yeah.
down in the
That
basement.
you're going to lose.
that you're
probably.
going to have something come down there.
Yeah.
So it's really not doable. It's something that is better done if you have the luxury of building your home from scratch.
Yeah. Now, I do think, though, that if you desire that effect of the conversation pit kind of idea, you probably can achieve it with some strategic furniture choices. Like if you get a sectional, which are couches or seating, which accommodates a larger number of people. They're all connected. Quite often it's like an L shape. Mm-hmm. It could be a U shape. And if you use that as your boundary of where the sunken living room ordinarily would have had a boundary in the actual physical wall that's created, you can create that effect with a sectional type setup.
Well, remember, years ago, we had a sectional in the living room.
Yes.
And it was sort of like an L,
Right.
but it was rounded. Didn't have a corner. It was rounded. And it went down 2 walls, and that kind of gave you that sort of an effect.
Yes.
Without having to sink the floor.
Right. And I still think that was our best setup of all the different ways we've configured and refurnished our living room. I think that one worked the best as far as that feeling of conversation and accommodating your guests.
Yeah.
The downside for us, anyway, was that the sectional is not easily movable. So we had it up against like 2 walls, and one of them had windows. So if we wanted to open the windows to let some air in and the nice summertime breeze, it became a bit of a problem because you couldn't really get behind it to raise the windows.
Right.
So now you're kind of like either kneeling on the back of the sectional, or you're trying to reach over it in some way, and it was very awkward.
Yeah. And we have these beautiful picture windows in the living room, and it kind of like blocked almost half the window too.
I didn't think it was that bad, truthfully, but for me it was more the ease of functionality of the room that I felt was hampered by it.
So if you can't do the major construction that would be involved in creating a pit in your home. Easily, you can do it through the arrangement of your furnishings.
Right.
So, will the conversation pit become one of the must-haves? Well, we don't think so, but I think you'll agree, Maureen, we could see it at best maybe making a modest comeback.
In some way, shape, or form. I don't think you're going to go back to the complete sunken living room like you had in the very early 50s. That's my prediction, is that there's going to be some kind of a modification that comes out that makes it a little more usable.
For the second part of our show, we're going to be talking about a trend that has been popular to the degree of ubiquity for
he loves that word.
Love that word. For decades. And as a matter of fact, because of this trend, something disappeared from the American home
Dum, dum,
because
dum.
of this trend.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, according to Zillow, 82% of homes today do not have this because of the prevalence of open concept.
Okay.
Do you know what it is?
You want me to guess? I have an idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want me to spoil it, or is this a spoiler alert kind of thing?
No, it's not a spoiler.
I would say the dining room.
Absolutely. The dining room. How many homes do you know that have a separate formal dining room today?
Well, if you have an older home, they
An older
all
home,
do.
maybe, yeah. Newer construction, there's no dining room. You have, in fact, let's explain open concept for those of you who don't know what it is. I call it the living kitchen dinatorium is what we've created. Kind of like the all-purpose room
in the schools.
when you were in school. Now, it was first credited, and again, this is surprising. A lot of people, if you say, well, when did open concept where we take down walls?
Right.
And maybe you have your bedrooms remain intact, but you take down a wall between the kitchen and the dining room, or between the dining room and the living room, or you make it all one great big space. When did this start? Well, it didn't start in the 40s or the 50s or the 60s. It actually goes all the way back to 1886.
Holy cow.
Not that I was there.
Right.
Henry Hobson Richardson used it in his Hay and Payne houses. That's for the Hay and Payne families. And he created a flow of the living room flowing into the dining area without a wall. And a lot of influence also came from the great Frank Lloyd Wright, who said, reduce the rooms in the house down to the bare essentials and make the spaces free-flowing, and then unify the outdoors and the indoors.
I wonder, too, if, like when people were first settling this country and they made log cabins, and you think of like those Little House on the Prairie episodes, if you see those, it is largely open concept except for the bedrooms.
Right.
And I don't think that, I think that was just out of convenience. And, a lot of these houses were built by the people themselves. They were not contractors. They, were making the logs and the wood themselves and chopping wood and putting it all together. So they weren't going to add anything extra to it that they
Right.
didn't absolutely have to. So I wonder if that kind of faded and people got a little bit more money and started building regular houses, and then they realized that there was something good about the openness, and maybe in the 1880s kind of went back to that. I don't know.
Well, I know that one of the reasons for having separate rooms was for heating purposes.
Okay.
That you might have a fireplace in the dining area, you might have a fireplace in a living room, as they used to call them back in the day, a parlor. Or you might have smaller fireplaces in the bedrooms. But it was for also being able to maintain the heat
Okay.
from one room to another. But slowly but surely, we did get to the open concept. And what are some of the pros of an open concept?
Well, if you're starting off with a smaller house,
Yeah.
okay, by opening it up like that, when you go in, it has the appearance, anyway, of being more spacious, and your eye travels to all the extremes, and it just seems very wide, and your vision seems wider, and your horizons are wider as you enter the home.
Yeah. It's impressive to when you have company and they come in and they walk into this big space and they're like, whoa.
And, and also if you are gathering for a party or an event or something in your home, it allows everybody to be interactive. I can remember back in the day of having a house where the kitchen was totally closed off from the rest. And myself or my mom when I was growing up, we have company. We were in the kitchen the whole time while everybody else is outside in the living room and dining room having a grand old time, partying it up, yucking it up, enjoying the drinks, and the women were in the kitchen slaving, and it could not be part of that. So by opening it all up, now people can mingle, they can come and join you in the kitchen, they can lend a hand. It becomes more of a cooperative thing.
They can help bring stuff back to the kitchen when the party is over. Now, for those of you who are helicopter parents, and God love you, we know you're out there, this also provides great sight lines so that you can maintain your eye on Emma, Isabella, Logan, and Connor. That's those of you that need to be watching your kids at all hours of the day. This is certainly good for you because there's nowhere to hide. Unless they go under the sink or in a closet or something. Otherwise, there is nowhere to hide. Now, what do I think is one of the cons of an open concept house? Well, if you have a smaller house, yes, it's going to look bigger.
Right.
But if you already have a big house,
yeah,
and you go open concept, now you've created a bowling alley. Oh dear. The 7-10 split. There's no recovery from that.
Nope.
That's
it.
You get the goalposts. That's about it. Also, it is more costly to heat and cool. Also, it's going to be noisier and reverberant. Mm-hmm. That was one of the things that I noticed when we bought this house.
Right.
We have sort of an open concept here, and we also have ceramic flooring in the kitchen and in the dining area. And when you talk, there still is. There's reverb, even with furnishings in the house. But when we first took the house over and there was no furniture in it, it was like highly reverberant.
Yeah.
And this is going to be one of the issues that you have with open concept. Now, you can control that, of course, if you've got nice heavy draperies, if you've got maybe some thick wall-to-wall carpeting, or at least some area rugs, because I know wall-to-wall carpeting has kind of fallen out of fashion in recent years. But even if you just lay down some area rugs.
Or you have like upholstered type furniture that has like some cushioning and padding that can, absorb the sound. Now, the one thing that I've always said about open concept, especially kitchens, is that aside from the homes and garden kitchens that you see in magazines that are so beautifully appointed, most homes kitchens are very functional, and they're not the the prettiest room in the house.
No, although in Better Homes and Gardens and Pinterest and all of those design and architectural websites and magazines, they look like museums. But again, remember, these pictures have been posed. They have set designers who come in and they clean everything. And they come in and they move furniture and they put things on tables and they put a plant here and they stage it. They can get into the software now and make little tweaks in the photograph.
Yeah. And that's why I don't like the open concept, because the reality of an open concept is you're going to come in and there's going to be maybe some dishes in the sink or some food items that need to be put away. maybe Emma and Logan spilled some milk on the countertop and they haven't wiped it up. I mean, the reality of it is that it is not usually pretty.
But remember, when Emma and Logan spill the stuff on the countertop, don't yell at them because you will crush their spirit. You will traumatize them for the rest of their lives and crush their feelings.
Oh.
Here comes the pushback. Now, one of the areas where open concept started to sort of retreat a little bit was, well, what do you think?
I think during the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
Because just prior to that, I think is when it was at its highest amount of people wanting the open concept. And then we were stuck inside. I won't say we were quarantined exactly.
We weren't locked down.
We weren't locked
Folks,
down.
please stop, for the love of God. Stop saying that we were locked down. Lockdown is when you are in friggin' prison. Okay, now you are locked down 23 hours a day. Otherwise, it was like you could drive your car, you could get in the car and drive wherever you want. In fact, it was great because nobody was on the roads. And you could go out and go for a walk. You could go out of your house and do things. So we weren't on lockdown.
No.
So stop saying that.
But you did have that feeling, though, of you were in your home probably more hours than you had been used to.
Yeah.
I will say that.
I'll agree with that.
And as more people became able to work from home, now the need for a workspace, a quiet spot set apart from the activity of the family, an office type setup, became a priority, and something that maybe the house wasn't built with that in mind. And now they were trying to find ways to adapt existing areas to accommodate that need. And in so doing, something had to give, and I think the open concept started shrinking. Maybe instead of walking into your house and the living room, dining room, kitchen was all open, maybe now it was just the living room, dining room, or the kitchen, dining room, and maybe the rest of the house maybe had walls or doors.
I think during pandemic, there definitely was a feeling that you needed more privacy, that you didn't all need to be together all of the time and see one another all of the time. And as you said, for people working at home, maybe they wanted a space for that, and maybe not in their bedroom. Maybe they didn't want to turn their bedroom into an office.
Sure, especially if you're doing Zoom calls.
Yeah,
you really want your bed.
Sorry that the bed is unmade, but
or
I'm running late today.
Even if you made it up, just the visual of the idea of working in your bedroom kind of reeks to me of like a.
Hey guys, this is where the magic happens.
It kind of reeks to me of I don't know, like prostitution or something.
I think a part of the future of open concept too is going to be driven by the rising cost of energy, the rising cost of running your HVAC, your air conditioning in the summertime, heating in the wintertime. Those costs have skyrocketed, and it doesn't look like there's an end to it in sight. So this is going to have, I think, some impact on the future of open concept. And of course, the need for people to have quiet time, privacy, maybe that separate space for crafting or hobbies, or maybe a space for you to go and work out.
Yeah.
So all of these are going to, I think, put a dent in the ever-present open concept. I don't think it's going to kill it. I think it's going to be with us forever.
Well, I mean, let's face it, if your house was built that way, there's always going to be some people that like it and some people that for which it remains. So I don't think I think you can't be so like totalitarian about it and saying everything's going, it's always this, it's always that.
Yeah.
There's always a median where it's going to be a little of each, I think.
It's always going to be here, is what I'm saying, but it might be a little bit less popular, and it might, I would love to see it go off the must-have list. Because if you watch HGTV or any of those shows where you have these young couples, these young people come in and they want to buy a house, and the host of the show says, so what are the things that you must have? And number one, invariably, number one out of their mouth is, we have to have open concept.
Yeah.
Number one, followed by number two, we have to have a big yard for the dog.
And I think it's one of those things it's easy to fall in love with in the picture, but once you live in it in a while, you might just have different feelings about it. But when you're coming in and you are dreaming of your dream house, you might dream it that way. But once you experience it, you may have a different idea.
Maybe. How do you feel about open concept? Do you want to defend it? Do you want to agree with us? Do you want to tell us, no, you totally disagree? Put it down in the comments and react with us, because we really do appreciate when we hear from you, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yes. But we like the good ones
But
the
we
best.
we like the good ones best. So tell us what you think about open concept and what you think about the sunken living room. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Sonic Boobers. I'm Pete Torriello.
And I'm Maureen Torriello.
And we'll have a new show coming up very soon as we get our schedule back on track. But for now, thanks for watching and thanks for listening.